Hello, welcome to the THC Show. I'm your host, Neil Magnuson. This is the show where we talk about THC. Truth, hope, and change. The truth hurts in a lot of cases, and the truth isn't always what it appears to be in many cases. So we need some hope. In fact, boy, do we ever need a lot of hope. The people in the area that we're operating in here in the downtown east side of Vancouver don't have a lot of hope. There's a lot of despair and conversation that happens here about how the government doesn't care, and worse than that. And of course that does seem to be the case for sure. We've had some traction with the Cannabis Substitution Program. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. We got 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca going to join us for the 420 session as always. We'll do our Healing Wave CSP update and talk a little bit about some of the current events that are going on. And with respect to the Cannabis Substitution Program and the Healing Wave RV that we have going on here, for those of you who have watched the show before, the Cannabis Substitution Program has been going on for about 5.5 years. It's evolved to this point where we've been kicked to the curb almost 2 years ago by a city council that had said that they would support us, but then decided they would only support us if the federal government did. And so even though we've applied to the federal government almost 2 years ago now, we've spent most of that last 2 years in an RV waiting for that kind of approval. And, we are on in interesting times here with respect to that. Two things. One is that we were raided by the VPD because we haven't gotten that approval from the federal government. And because the VPD decided that, they're just supposed to enforce Canada's law. And there was some people that had reported selling cannabis out of an RV, and they decided that they had to spend taxpayers' money and investigate that, which was kind of ludicrous because we weren't really trying to hide from anybody and never had. In fact, much more than that, we've been very, very open about what we've been doing here for a long time in satisfying these horrible needs that have arisen due to the poison drug supply and this public health emergency that befalled us several years ago, and that was the reason for the program. So the VPD, oh look, there's that RV there, maybe we should check that out. And so they did. They decided there was enough evidence to prove that we were selling cannabis and that we didn't have a license. And so they arrested us, seized the RV for a while, although I'm happy to say they gave that back. And they've charged us with selling cannabis without a license. We're going to be answering those charges in court coming right up. Although we haven't set a date for any sort of a trial. We have set dates on 2 occasions just because I don't think the prosecutors have had a look at the case at all. Because if they had a look at the case, they'd realize that it's certainly not in the public's interest to spend taxpayers' dollars to go through a process that would intend on penalizing myself and 2 of my colleagues that were charged here. Because the only thing we've tried to do is do the right thing, save people's lives in the face of a horrible public health emergency that has been taking, in the case of British Columbia alone, over 10,000 lives in the last several years. So the whole thing doesn't make much sense to us, but here we are. So today is the last day that we had to make submissions to Health Canada as part of an ongoing negotiation that we've had going on with them since we put our application in almost 2 years ago. And tomorrow is the day that we go back to court here just up the street from where we are. And there to set another date perhaps, or maybe by this time the prosecutors have had a look at the case and will decide that they should withdraw those charges. That's what we're certainly hoping and thinking should happen. But in the meantime, we'll answer them as they go. As for Health Canada, as I just alluded to a moment ago, we are in negotiations with them, and they had given us an intent to deny and a time period to respond to that, and that deadline is today, as I said. And we have submitted a response to that. I think a very good and reasoned response. Their concerns there's 2 of them. One is that we're not using only legal cannabis, and I'm not sure what they mean by that. I thought cannabis was legal in this country, but apparently there's legal cannabis and illegal cannabis. And if you're getting any more than what people are producing for themselves with their 4-plant limit or on their medical license, then that needs to fall under scrutiny of the federal government, who's going to take some taxes on that, and it has to go through the province as well, and on down to these licensed stores. So in any case, for us to be using all cannabis grown by licensed or legal producers, we'd be keen to do that. We especially think that those producers and growers of cannabis that have been helping us for all this time should be licensed to be able to continue doing that. After all, they've proven themselves over the last number of years with what they've been helping us with. Other than that, there's a whole lot of cannabis that's being destroyed by the current licensed producers due to regulations that require that. And that's a waste of a medical commodity that people could be using to better their lives, escape addiction, and numerous different things, or even just have fun on a Friday night if that's what people are using cannabis for these days. All of that is well and good and should be not only allowed, but certainly if the government can't help with that, it should get out of the way. But here we are with a government at the federal level that I guess wants their cut. I guess that's what it is, and that's why it has to be all legal cannabis. They don't want to just give us that which the licensed producers are having to destroy. Perhaps what they're after is that $1 a gram that they want to charge on all the cannabis that is sold in Canada here, which would certainly make it so that we couldn't sell cannabis here for what we do, which is $1 a gram, because there's overhead and other things like that. You know, it's just kind of ludicrous anyway, in any case. The other one is really something that I wanted to talk about. It's the more important of the two. I think we can have some fun with just how stupid it is that the government thinks that the people that have been growing cannabis for us for the last few years here, 5 years we've been doing this, for some reason they shouldn't be allowed to continue helping us help people. I mean, that's just silly. But the other one is really quite ominous, and that is that Health Canada thinks that there should be nobody that receives high-dose cannabis edibles or has the ability to go and buy cannabis high-dose edibles if they don't have medical oversight. So unless there's a healthcare provider, a doctor or a nurse practitioner that's willing to sign off on you as an individual so that you can now access these things, well, you shouldn't have access to them. I mean, equally and maybe even more ludicrous than the first one, but in this case it really is something that's harming a lot of people. Because believe it or not, know it or not, there's a lot of people in Canada that do not trust the healthcare system. They do not trust doctors. They don't want to get involved with those people. They're afraid for what might happen to them for maybe good reason. That is prevalent across Canada through most demographics. There's been a lot of scandals with respect to the pharmaceutical industries, to the medical healthcare profession, and I would say there's probably good reason not to trust pharmaceutical drugs and not to trust doctors. For the people here on the downtown east side, it's much more pronounced. Many people here have had very bad experiences with doctors in the healthcare system. If they go and talk to a doctor or report in to a clinic or something like that, in many cases they become apprehended. They go through a series of experiences that they're not happy about, that they don't want, and in some cases, there's talk of confining them, hospitalizing them, institutionalizing them, which may be right and good for people and what they need. I don't know. But I do know that all of that scares the hell out of a lot of people down here, and they're very shy about talking to anybody about what it is that's wrong with them for fear that that might be used against them, and they may have to suffer consequences by admitting to those things. And like I say, it's prevalent, more prevalent here on the downtown east side, but it's still very prevalent right across Canada. There are a lot of people who will not sign up with a healthcare professional, even if it's to get the high-dose edibles that they're going to need to get off of the drugs that they're on. And the whole thing is stupid as hell anyway, right? Like, why can't a full-grown citizen of Canada, a free citizen here, a consenting adult, why can't they just go into a store and get some high-dose edibles? Like high-dose cannabis edibles. They don't kill anybody. Pesticide kills people, bleach kills people, alcohol kills people, commercial tobacco kills people. All that stuff's easily available. You don't need any medical oversight to go and get that stuff. Why would you need medical oversight to get cannabis? And if it is really that dangerous, then you need to have medical oversight, and you can't just have a storefront that would sell this to adults if they come in and want it. Like, if it's really that dangerous that you can't do that, then the last thing that you want to do is not have that available, because then people are going to be going to the underground marketplace where who knows what's in the edibles. Who knows if the person producing them understands what they're doing or not. You can have a very bad experience on edibles. It won't kill you. It's never killed anybody. But it needs to be proper dosed. There needs to be standardized dosing of some sort. That's how you would protect from that. If you don't want people to have a bad, uncomfortable experience with cannabis edibles, then have a regulation that you've got to put proper dosaging information on there. That's all. Don't need any more than that. Keep out of the reach of children. Well, that's common sense. I don't think they even put that on alcohol bottles. Kids get into all kinds of stuff. They get into high-dose edibles. They get into all kinds of poisons. Some kids die, not from high-dose edibles. But we have kids that die on this continent, fairly often, way too often, because kids get into stuff. They get in underneath the sink. They get into basements and garages and other things like that. They get into whiskey cabinets and alcohol cabinets. They get into pharmaceutical drugs or the medicine cabinet. They get into stuff, and bad stuff happens. Keep that stuff away from your kids. You don't want your kids to have a bad experience with high-dose edibles either. Yeah, it won't kill them, but still you don't want that. So keep them out of the reach of children. Put that on the label. Why not? But to prohibit it without medical oversight, it just drives it all underground. And in today's world, where cannabis is this new emerging wonderful product that is really being sold and touted in the form of CBD and others as well, this is a medical miracle that's available through this plant, and people are realizing that all across the world, all around the world. And more cannabis is being consumed all the time, and edibles are being understood by the medical community as something very, very powerful for helping people with their medical conditions. So edibles are in demand. In fact, when they sell edibles at the stores, it's one of the fastest things to go. People really like the edibles because it really helps them. Not the 10 milligrams that the government's selling. That doesn't really do much for anybody that needs it for serious medical issues, or certainly to get off of high opioids or the other hard drugs. But the whole thing doesn't make any sense. It's exposing the government as being about as, crazy, insane, out of touch as can be. But the reality of it is, it's not really about that. It's not that our governments are a bunch of dinosaurs that really don't understand the value of cannabis and how it can help people, and they're buying into all that old, rhetoric and fear about reefer madness and all of that. It's not that they're ignorant, naive, stupid. It's not that at all. It's that they're bought and paid for by corporations that have lobbied successfully to have their interests protected behind closed doors. Who knows what kind of deals these people are making? But their interests are not in saving our brothers and sisters from a poisoned drug supply. Their issues, and I'm talking about our public servants, the people that we pay, who work for us, they really don't care that cannabis high-dose edibles is the best harm reduction solution available during this public health crisis. They don't care about that. They're not interested in having that available to people. They're interested in trying to figure out how to keep that from being available to people. That's how corrupt it is. What do they care about? Well, they're pretty concerned about not selling cannabis cheaper than the government licensed stores. That's been the whole issue with our application to Health Canada. All the feedback that we got from them wasn't about, hey, we think maybe cannabis is too dangerous to be giving people that are on opioids because, cannabis is dangerous. No. It was all about, this doesn't fit the financial model of legalization, where we've got licensed stores that are keeping prices way up here. And their only concern is they don't want to hurt the bottom line of those people. So that just tells you how corrupt things are here. They're extremely corrupt. We got a good article written about us in the Vancouver Sun this past Saturday. Very pleased to see that. Got my picture there too, although I don't know it's that good a picture. Not even smiling. I'm usually smiling. I think I'm just thinking about how sad it is that we have to go to the media and go to court and continue to write letters to Health Canada to try to convince them that what we're doing is something they should support. Yeah, I'm not very happy about that. I don't know if I like the idea of doling out weed, but, you know, sure, why not? I don't care. It's a good story. I wanted them to talk about all those people that are afraid of doctors in that story. They said that they would, but they didn't. I think that's really, really important for people to understand. Because Health Canada's job is to protect Canadians, period, all of us. And in fact, if they really did have a mandate, that mandate would be to make sure that they protect the weak, those people that are struggling in their life, that are suffering in some ways, that are disenfranchised and precariously housed and not able to look after themselves properly. That really should be the role of Health Canada, I would think. That if they're going to triage their services, then that would result in them wanting to look after the poor and the downtrodden first. As a tax-paying citizen, that's what I want. I don't care about helping out people that already have it pretty well off. Sure, sometimes some single family people, let's give some of those people a boost too. But really those people that have suffered such slings and arrows of life that they can't properly look after themselves and they're struggling, I think that's where I would really like to see our healthcare system focus. How can we help those people? And not just throw money at them, but help them get better. Have real good structures about how to get people's lives back on track. But I don't see that. I don't see that at all. In fact, with our program, the Cannabis Substitution Program, one of the concerns by the government is well, we have to make sure that if you are giving it out to people, that you're only giving it out to people that are using it to get off of opioids. 4:19, you got 1 minute. But I say there's a lot of other people that are lining up to get it that are relying on it because it helps them with many of their health issues, serious health issues. But no, they're not actually using opioids or other drugs at this time, and that's not what they're using it for. Well, then you can't give it to them. We want to make sure that your program's only giving it to the people that you're targeting. Why? Why? They don't tell you why. They don't say, because what you're giving out is dangerous and hurting people in a little bit, and we're willing to allow you to hurt the people that are at risk of death a little bit, but we don't want you hurting other people. No, they don't say that. But that's about the only thing that would make any sense, is if there was some danger to the cannabis that we're giving out to people. But that's not the case. So, Health Canada continues to behave as if they are a very corrupt organization. We continue to have to fight and struggle and pull in all the resources we can to try to convince them to do the right thing. And we'll see where it all goes. In the meantime, 420, 8 out of 10 Glenn. I don't call him 8 out of 10 Glenn most of the time. But
No, Mr. Wells. No.
Mr. Wells.
Mr. Magnuson.
Are you well, Mr. Wells?
Oh, I am. How are you?
That's good. I'm pretty good.
Yeah, I forgot to kneel, sorry.
Oh,
see? How's the ribs? You just told me you were well, and you go,
I just told you I was pretty good.
Well,
And then I
truth,
leaned
hope,
back.
and change.
Ribs are a very nasty injury.
Oh, yeah, soft
It
tissue
takes a
takes 6
long
weeks,
time.
right? But they are getting better.
Yeah,
Good.
I mean, there's still some real difficulty there in rolling over in the bed, especially when I first get into bed. I really can't lay on that side. I try, but it hurts so bad right away that I have to not.
Oh, yeah.
But then it seems like during the course of the night sleeping, I don't know, maybe it's adjusted to gravity or something. I don't know what it is, but I am able to sleep a little better and on
good.
that side in the night. So I've had a few good nights sleep. I'm feeling better that way.
Well,
But
you
yeah,
you have
geez.
a girl in your bed with you and just put her on that side that you can't roll, and then you won't roll at all, and you'll be on the good side, and you won't have to worry about rolling,
My
right?
experience is that the girl has to be on this side of me.
Okay, there you go. See, yeah.
Because when she's on this side of me, she tends to hurt me. Not meaning to. So what's new in your world with the CannaMatch?
Well, actually, they had a problem with the app on the Google Play Store, but they're adjusting it. Yes.
See, 420.
Yeah, you forgot to have a spark.
I forgot we're supposed to light weed at this point.
You're supposed to, yeah, and then you might want to clear
that one's dead.
too.
Yeah, I'll have to clear that one out.
Yeah.
I got a new one. I should probably use it.
We talked about last week.
We're going to pull that one out. We're going to bring this one in. This was
a
beautiful gift from Sita at the Mum Cup.
It was.
The Mum Cup was a lot of fun. Sorry it's over. Time flies.
And the PMHC is over too.
They just had the Prairie Cup. That's happened. Another 10 years. Congratulations, Jeff.
Yeah, congrats.
That's a hell of a milestone and the longest running cup at this point. But this I got from the Mum Cup.
Yeah.
From Asia there. This is a donation to the CSP because I know she understands how much people are fashion conscious down here, and they all want to be wearing Mum Cup lanyards.
Lanyards, that's it.
Yeah, they can hook
I think our producer
they can hook that onto all of their personal belongings so they can move quickly when the police come and try to roust them from the doorways.
Hang your favorite protest sign from them, like you just did
there's
last week.
There's so many things that a person could use that for. So thanks, Asia. Oh, look, there's more. Oh, there's more. There's rolling papers.
Oh no!
Did we? Are we sideways?
Yeah, we gone sideways. What happened? I don't know. Technical difficulties. Oh my god.
She threw in a few rolling papers.
Nice.
Which we get asked for a lot, so that's always good. Oh, look, there's more.
Is there more?
What's this now?
It's VIP.
This might not be suitable for all family members. Annie Barbie, if you could just look away for a moment, I think. Nope, not at all.
There you go.
Not at all. All is well. It's all good. We just got some posters from the Mom Cup.
Yes.
She just threw those in for the heck of it. Because the real pièce de résistance.
Is there more?
A little bit of drug abuse. There's more.
Don't be doing
I saw
any
more
drug
in there. And here we go.
I want one of those.
No.
Please.
These are for the CSP. You could probably buy one and the money would go to the CSP.
Okay.
But here we have, I'm going to pull these ones out first because you want to go best to last.
There. Money's on the table.
Money's on the table.
Okay. How much are they?
Well, $5 to $10, maybe a $5 minimum donation for those.
All right.
So what we have here is some edible cookies.
Yep.
From the Mum Cup. That's a donation to the CSP. That's very nice.
That's very nice.
That's very nice.
How about three for 20?
Okay.
There we go.
I think that's a decent deal.
That's a good deal. That's an extra 5 for the CSP also too.
What we have is these cookies here. So this was the first place winning entry into the edibles category of the Mum's Cup.
Yeah.
These things are raved about for sure.
Sterling and Landlord.
Yeah.
I got some. There we go. Thank you very much. Yeah. These are really good. First place.
For the CSP.
These were impressive. And they're a Quebec company too.
Are they?
Yep. They're from Quebec. Yes.
Thanks a lot to Asia and the Mum Cup.
You.
Thanks for the Mum Cup in general. It was a great time had by all.
Some people who were at the cup are going,
Everybody wanted those cookies, but by the time the cup was over, that was like the most talked about thing. Have you tried those cookies?
Oh, yes.
That's great. And so, speaking of cups, we got the Karma Cup coming up this weekend.
Yep.
They just had the Sasquatch Music Festival, which included a cannabis cup. I haven't heard anything about how that went.
But that's a great idea. Music and cannabis. That's pretty good.
Cannabis cup.
Wonder who came up with that one.
Well, all the cannabis cups typically have some form of music, but this was actually music first, cannabis second, I guess.
Jay Frost says he didn't even eat the cookie. He says, I didn't even eat them. Well,
what's the matter with you, Jay? You don't do edibles?
Yeah, you're missing out, buddy.
Do you not do edibles, or do you do edibles in Nova Scotia?
No, Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
Yeah, he's farther.
Farther, yeah.
Across the
I
ocean.
had Nova Scotia on the brain there because there was a case in Nova Scotia just recently. An Indigenous fellow who had a dispensary on Indigenous land was raided and charged.
I think so.
And they threw the case out. They tossed it. And he's not all that happy about that because he was really hoping to make his case about the fact that the native peoples of this continent here traded in medicines for thousands of years without any governments coming along and saying that they couldn't or they had to do it this way. you know, it is their inherent right. My goodness, it's all of our inherent rights.
Yeah.
But so he wanted to bring that case forward. They didn't give a reason why, but they said that the lead investigator was no longer available to be, you know, examined or whatever.
Oh, really?
So he thought...
What happened? He lose his voice?
So him and his lawyer, they looked across Canada to see if they could find similar cases.
Yeah.
And there were a number of them that had been brought before the courts, and there wasn't one of them that wasn't dismissed before a decision was raised. And he's very suspicious, as we all probably are, that here again, this is the courts and the government conspiring together to not allow for precedents to be set that are going to interfere with their little attempt to monopolize the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
Because the indigenous people deserve the right to have their own cannabis stores on their own land, that they as peoples decide how things should be there. And so do we.
Yeah.
And so do we. So, you know,
they're their own government, so...
This is a capitalist marketplace,
you
you
know?
know?
Do that, yeah.
People get to bring things to market and see if it will sell.
Yeah.
What the hell job is government in there unless people are being harmed?
Yeah.
They need to, you know, screw off about the whole reefer madness stuff, because it's long overdue that they apologize and admit that there was never any justification for prohibiting cannabis in the first place. There still isn't today. This nonsense about harming the developing brain is just the last thing that they've got, which is nonsense. It's just difficult for people to argue about that. But not once you understand about how the endocannabinoid system develops in the fetus, and how mother's milk contains endocannabinoids, and that cannabinoids are a huge, crucial part in the development of human beings from before they're born and onwards. So, you know, the whole developing brain being harmed by ingesting cannabinoids is a false flag for sure, and especially in a world where our young people are constantly getting into alcohol and other toxic
We were
things.
told with all 4 of our kids, not during the first 3 months. The first trimester is very important because brain, heart, lungs, and all the vital organs are
or maybe it's more important.
Yeah, well, maybe.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't really know. So, you know, these are my opinions, right? But my learned opinion, based on all my time in looking into this, is that cannabinoids are a major, crucial part of our existence, and they are needed probably more during those serious developmental stages than less during those. So, you know, I mean, I do know from the research that I've looked into that once you're aged, more than me, aged, that you lack some of the abilities to use the cannabinoids because you haven't developed that relationship with those external cannabinoids. And so I don't trust the medical profession. I'm one of those people. And they've lied to us for so long in the cannabis world. How could you ever trust them?
Yeah. But
they were
told by the government the information, so it's not that it was their decision, and they were educated that way, right?
Who, doctors?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, right? So
that's what they're told.
Now some doctors are changing because my doctor's changed, and every doctor that's in his office has changed. And so, because they're getting different information, right? And they're getting it right from the patients and not from the government. So
it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Most human beings don't look for or accept information that differs with what their interests are.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And
most people.
Most people don't. I mean, there are some ethical people, there are some open-minded ethical people that are willing to challenge their own positions on things, they're willing to challenge their own institutions' positions on things, but most people toe the line. They don't want to. Oh, man.
But there are some people.
I gotta catch.
Okay, there are some people who will listen to those people. Yeah.
Yeah, most people don't want to rock the boat.
No, and they'll listen. No.
They don't want to lose their job. They don't.
What I'm saying is, some people will listen to people how cannabis has benefited them. Yes, some of them will just toe the line, but some will try, and then they'll find out, and then they will tell somebody else, right? And then so it will slowly get there. It'll become.
It's tough for doctors.
Yeah.
They are very seriously, heavily ingrained with what they're believing. there was probably a lot of their beliefs are drug induced, but I don't know that for sure. Although I do understand there's a fair bit of drug taking by medical students on the way up. But it's certainly not in their interests. When doctors started to sign for people to be able to use or grow cannabis, there was a big pushback from their organization. They were warned about different amounts that they were able to prescribe for people. Doctors that were prescribing cannabis were being audited and being scrutinized, and many of them being threatened, and some of them losing their licenses, losing their reputations. So that doesn't take much to scare a doctor.
No.
Doctors are pretty much toe the line. Let's not lose our license. Let's not lose our reputation.
Yeah.
And it's just not in their interests to do that. I mean, what would be the good reason for them to understand that cannabis is a beneficial medicine that people can grow for themselves and then not use the pharmaceutical drugs? What benefit is there for them in that? There's benefit for them in selling selling those pharmaceutical drugs.
There is a benefit. People would be healthier. Their offices would not be as busy, and they wouldn't be complaining about how busy and how they have no time for patients.
So I guess I should have rephrased that.
Push them through, right? Yeah.
What financial motivation is there?
Yeah.
What financial motivation is there for doctors to get people off of the pharmaceutical drugs that they are get paid incentives and bonuses for dispensing, and onto cannabis? And what financial incentive is for doctors to have less patients?
Yeah.
There's none. Ethically, yes, there's definitely possibilities of some ethical motivation for doctors to realize that they've kind of been lied to, that they've actually been part of a scheme that isn't afraid to hurt people.
Yes.
I'm maybe...
Somebody was saying that
I'm biased.
Canada has a health system monopolized.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, right? Because they just give the guy these pharmaceutical companies the money from their health programs, and there you go, right?
There should be exposés and documentaries on the power of the pharmaceutical industry, but they are so powerful that most people are afraid to do that. And many of the projects that have been attempted don't get very far. We're talking about groups that are so well leveraged. That means they got lots of money. That's what that means. They are so well leveraged in their ability, and they're so sophisticated in understanding how to control the marketplace.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We saw that in not Ghost. What was that movie that was on Netflix just recently? Not movie, but the series that was on there about Purdue Pharma. And
you mean the Disney one?
The Disney one
with Michael, whatever. What's his face?
Was it Dope Sick?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, we can look it up.
That's terrible for me to forget that. Just absolute blank there for a minute. But yeah, I think Dope Sick is
Michael Keaton.
With Michael Keaton as a doctor,
Yeah, and then who got sick, right? Yeah.
Well, he was sold a bill of goods.
Yeah,
he was sold a bill of goods by Purdue Pharma reps that convinced him through falsified drafts and reports that this particular new opioid in this new classification as non-addictive opioid was the future of pain relief. And you got a glimpse into his life about the patients that he was dealing with, the pain that many of them were in. It was a mining town.
Yeah, it was.
So there were so many people that were suffering, seriously. And as a doctor, and as an empathetic doctor, and as a moral and ethical doctor, you want to help your patients out. You want to stop their suffering as best you can.
Yeah.
So when this drug came along and was presented to him as being something that would help these people with their pain and not cause the problems that had been happening with opioids, he went for that.
Well, yeah. Like any doctor would.
All the doctors did.
Yeah,
they all did.
Yeah.
In the test markets that they started in, they all did.
Yeah. And
then when he had an accident himself, and that's what was offered to him, that's how he got on it himself, and then he got to experience the addictive nature of it and all the rest of it. And holy smokes, I won't tell you much more about it, but it's
a great show.
Man, what a great expose.
Yeah.
All based on true events and with actors playing characters that really did exist. These two state attorneys that wouldn't let go of the story because of all the deaths and destruction that this drug was having. To the family of the Purdue Pharma
ownership that conspired and knew damn well that they were just responsible for a lot of death and suffering, and yet it was all about money for them, and that's the thing. It's all about money.
And they tried to offer them money when it wasn't that the families wasn't even close.
Well, they tried to buy their way out of this.
Yeah.
In fact, they got themselves a judgment that was going to alleviate them of being no jail time for any of them, just money.
Mm-hmm.
And now the Supreme Court in the United States has thrown that out. So that series that was playing there on Disney ended with that settlement and what that was all about.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars,
Billions of dollars
that they were going to have to pay.
Wow.
But it's now been overturned. So there's going to have to be another episode or two.
I see.
But it's not finalized
the
at all.
fight has continued.
Meanwhile, the Purdue families are enjoying their billions of dollars on their islands and yachts.
Yeah, their money's
And
making interest.
they're probably
and
never
stuff,
going to see the inside of a jail cell, yet they murdered people, and they knowingly murdered many, many people by lying and falsifying documents and scientific reports, and that's why they were fined such huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
Was because they really did do a lot of damage, yet none of the people that are really responsible for that are ever going to probably suffer in any
Never.
way.
No.
They'll write a check, just another check.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, I still got $7 billion in that account? Oh, okay. Guess it's okay.
Doesn't hurt so bad now.
Yeah, it's okay.
The thing went away.
There's no
Wow.
justice.
So anything else in the box? Was that it? I don't know. We stopped at cookies.
No.
Nope, that's it. Cookies. Well, cookies are good.
Well, they help.
The
They're
people
really
are
going to help
really
people.
appreciate those cookies.
We'll have to put out a little warning. These ones work.
Yes. Yes.
I think all of our cookies here work. I hope they do, but some are more powerful than others. What did it say on there?
keep out of reach for children.
What's the milligram on this?
But it's 300.
Is it 300?
I do believe it's 300.
I can't read it because.
All right, here, let me know.
Well, it's just because it's in the plastic
Okay.
bag there.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Is it too small?
No, I can read it.
Okay.
Doesn't say.
It doesn't say.
It's gotta
I thought mine
say.
said 300.
It's gotta say there somewhere.
Yeah, I got one right here.
300.
It is 300.
300.
I read that one time.
300. That's a lot for a cookie.
That's no wonder. And how many did the host of the show eat that day? Probably like 2 or 3 of those. Because he had to sit down in the chair.
The host of which show?
Sterling.
Sterling.
Oh yeah,
yes,
on the
Sterling.
last day he had eaten 2 or 3 of those cookies. Because they're so good.
Well, my son was trying to convince me that I should eat one, but because he remembers how good they were.
Yeah.
But no, I don't do edibles, and especially when there's 300 milligrams packed into something like that. But speaking of, I shouldn't even speak about it. Just that I should be wearing glasses probably, except I shouldn't be wearing glasses. I don't know. It's so dumb, Sometimes we talk about non-cannabis related stuff. I don't think this is related to cannabis in any way.
300 milligrams total cannabis. They're saying the equivalent of 60 milligrams of THC.
Oh. So what are they saying then? It's got a whole bunch of CBD in it? These things were knocking people out.
These things were knocking people
Oh
out.
yeah, they can, good cannabis will do it.
If it's 60 milligrams, that's still pretty strong, especially if it's actual.
So it's only 60 milligrams?
I mean, I think what they've done is more accurate. I think they should always just list total weight. So this says 300 milligrams decarbed cannabis. But it's decarb, it doesn't tell what type of cannabis. So I assume it's buds, but maybe it was an oil. And so
My
300 milligrams of oil, like a gram of oil.
Decarb cannabis could mean anything.
Reclaim is decarbed cannabis.
Oh, it just has to be easy. Sure,
Right?
it could be, it could be anything.
Because it's a concentrate which came from cannabis. And if you have reclaim, and it's clean, that's
Well, we give people 420 milligrams every 4 days, so we'll have to figure out what we think that really is then if we're going to do that.
it's probably a 60.
Probably.
Yeah.
The Warnicki Seaman Martin case that's been going on for so long, we've talked about for so long on the show, has been put off again. It was scheduled for August 23rd and now rescheduled for, I guess, the end of October.
Yep.
But they've reinstated the original judge, so that's good.
Well, that was October 9th or something.
I don't know.
Well,
We got time to tell you the actual date
could look
before
it
it
up.
gets there because we just started the this month here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has been put off again, so those poor people are still left in limbo with respect to the decision. And as we've said so many times about all this, is it's been going on for 2 years or so now. Holy
And now
smokes! Just on this end of it, there was years that went on before it actually got to trial, and now it's been in trial for a couple of years. It's not like people are actually suffering because they don't have access to proper medical cannabis, or is it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. It is.
It's going to get thrown out probably because of that mistake that Pierre Justin made about the not changing the laws for the police actions or something, right? So they want
So the exemption that police had to be able to work undercover and possess and purchase and sell cannabis, or not just cannabis, but drugs in general, things in general, was not properly reinstituted back in 2017 when it was supposed to be. And so now all these cases are suspect, to say the least. We'll see how many get thrown out.
But then if it gets thrown out, then Health Canada doesn't have to listen to them, and we're back to square one. So because the case doesn't get to be true, you don't get a verdict on it, right?
Lots of the cases will just be gone.
Disappeared.
Yeah. And some of those, cannabis-related ones, I think that's good. Who knows? There's probably some that we wouldn't think are so good, depending on what the circumstances are.
But if we had a verdict from the Pat one, then it would be good for all the medical people, right?
It should be. I mean, that's what we're waiting for.
Yeah.
At some point, I mean, this all has to come apart for them. I mean, it can't continue on to be this hypocritical and stupted.
Yeah,
like
could
really.
the judge just throw it up and also make like say that things have to change? This is a lot. Yeah, I don't know how they do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what type of instructions a judge can give to the government as a result of this, but I think they can. They'll probably give them a length of time to change things, but we really don't know. We really don't know what it's going to result in.
We can't trust them.
You certainly can't trust them.
No, you can't trust them.
But they're starting to look extremely ridiculous. Like, so what? If you have enough money, you can walk into a beautiful store and purchase cannabis at similar prices to what it was when Prohibition was going on.
Show your ID.
In most cases, you have to show your ID. Not in all cases. Not all stores all the time.
Okay.
All stores, if they think you're too young, will make you show ID. If they don't, they don't have to, apparently.
Okay.
But, the fact is that these stores are available for people.
Yeah.
But only people that have enough money to afford cannabis at those prices. And they don't offer the medical side of cannabis in the form of the high-dose edibles. And that's really the medical side of cannabis. Concentrates for sure, too. And they do have some of that. But some of that is capped at its potency as well. But the high-dose edibles was always the number one thing that the medical patient using cannabis was needing. And almost always it was high-dose edibles. And so rich people who only want to use cannabis to have fun with have stores they can go into and readily buy it.
Yeah.
But the poor people and the sick people who really need it because it's serious for them, they don't have a place to go and get it.
No.
Like, how wrong is that? Is it legal or isn't it legal?
Yeah. I mean, a store, they don't have a store to go to, because there's people on the street.
Right. I mean, they can order online the 10 milligram maximum stuff through the government, and they can go illegal. They can go into an underground marketplace, and there's arson.
You said there's a tent on Hastings where they're selling weed 24 hours a day?
Sure, you can go to Cannabis Culture and get high-dose edibles, there's lots of other illegal dispensaries that are around the area.
The dispensary itself, too.
The medicinal cannabis dispensary still doesn't have its provincial license after all these years, which is really strange,
It is,
Strange that they're still operating. I've inquired a little bit into that. They were fined, apparently. Not sure what those fines were. It went to the directors of the medicinal cannabis dispensary. It wasn't in the millions of dollars like Ted Smith's was. But, that's a strange one, too. This whole thing is so strange, And, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if they toss the charges tomorrow.
Yes,
we'll see if
tomorrow.
Back tomorrow to court. We'll see if Health Canada responds in a timely fashion to our response about why they wanted to deny us, and hopefully they'll get it, that we are willing to use legal cannabis. If you're listening, Health Canada, that's what we're trying to tell you. We're happy to use legal cannabis as long as you're not going to increase the price or decrease the quality of what we're able to give people here. We would love to have what you would consider a legal source, or at least we're not objecting to that at all. And on the other side of it, you cannot expect people to need medical oversight. That is 100% going to kill people. It's going to kill lots of people. It's going to remove a large amount of people. Tens of thousands of people would be probably a small estimate, a low estimate of the people just in Canada that will be denied access to what would save their lives if you don't allow for, or if you insist on requiring medical oversight for people to purchase high-dose edibles. It makes no sense. It's making you look silly, and lives are at stake. Is it going to take somebody in Health Canada to lose a loved one because they didn't have access to proper cannabis?
I don't even know if that would work, because apparently our mayor lost a loved one to the opioid crisis that's going on, and he's still not on our side.
Well, the mayor signed on with all of the other councillors unanimously to
but he
support
didn't tell the
low
business
barrier
license
access.
office to shut up.
They
He's the mayor, he can do that.
We believe, and I believe, that the mayor of Vancouver and any city has the power to override federal law if they deem it to be crucial for their community. And in this case, they did it with Insight, with the supervised consumption site for hard drugs.
Yep.
And I believe that they could do that with us, but they haven't exercised that power. He did sign on, and unanimously with the rest of council, a motion to support low barrier access.
Yeah.
Council did write us a letter of support to submit to Health Canada. I'm told there's been phone calls from City Council to Health Canada on our behalf, or on behalf of low barrier access.
And it's strange how they only give you 30 days to respond, but they can take forever. Jack Lloyd responded for me within the 30 days, and it's been over 60 days, and they're still waiting.
Why don't they get the 30-day?
Exactly. You figure exactly. I've been waiting 2 years, so if you want us to respond in 30 days, it should be the same thing to you, right? Like, why don't you continue to wait longer? It's going to be another 2 years.
Yeah. Well, or do you want them to? If you want them to answer, because maybe they'll say no.
Well, no,
it's hard to know.
11 pages of legal argument apparently Jack wrote. So
yeah.
Well, and she goes, "Oh, that goes to the different department." Then she says,
and John and Jack and myself worked hard to have an argument put to Health Canada in favor of application for us that should not be able to be denied.
That's what you sent in today, right?
Well, that's what we sent in today, but that's also our first application. Okay. That application that we sent to Health Canada was clear that we've been, because it's not a proposal.
No.
This is not a proposal.
No.
This is a permission to continue.
Yeah.
Continue what we've been demonstrating for more than half a decade.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Like, holy smokes, I'm just so nuts about it. I don't know how to find the words for it. I keep repeating myself. But, for half a decade, proving that it works, and works so well, and harms nobody, and is the best harm reduction option, and never even as a Health Canada representative come and seen us, come to visit, come to observe.
I went to Maple Ridge Treatment Center in the 90s, and I have a vision or a memory of everybody lining up in the hall for the pills. Right now, if the government would get on board, there'd be a big lineup for your edibles instead of pills. Right at these treatment centers and stuff like that. That would be so much better.
I mean, it's just so nice of the government to care so much about us that they want to protect us from these high dose edibles.
Yes, I know. Yeah, they're so bad.
I was watching a thing the other night about the dangers of coffee.
Coffee? Okay.
Coffee.
Yeah. It's got caffeine. That's dangerous.
Well, it's caffeine. It's not coffee. It's caffeine.
Yes.
And the decaf is a joke. It's not decaf at all. There's still lots of caffeine in decaf.
So how
but the caffeine itself can cause all kinds of heart problems.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dangerous drug. It's a dangerous drug to withdraw from.
Oh yeah.
Can cause migraine headaches. Migraine headaches can kill.
Headache, yeah.
I think they said 1,700 people a year die from caffeine poisoning
Wow.
in the United States every year.
Well, if you're having 5 cups of coffee a day while you're at work, I could see maybe that
Some
would be a
people drink a lot.
little bit too much. I'm in 2 shots.
So one of the
of
big
espresso
issues
the whole day.
is that caffeine, there's something that your body creates
Yeah,
to wake you up.
yeah,
So in the morning when you're waking up, this stuff is there, and it's there to bond to receptor sites in your brain and wake you up.
yeah.
Sorry, the opposite, to put you to sleep.
Oh,
To put you to sleep.
Okay.
And caffeine
Yeah.
also bonds to those same places on those same receptor sites
Yeah.
and blocks this chemical from putting you to sleep.
Yes.
So because of that, you don't get the sleep that you need. And when you don't get the sleep that you need, that's a serious health issue.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are using coffee, and there's a coffee crash. There's a caffeine crash that happens for people who use coffee to stay awake because they're feeling tired, so they can drink some coffee. Now they're good to go for a while, but really they shouldn't be going, and they should be sleeping because it's really important to get that sleep. So anyway, my only point is that life is dangerous. There's lots of things.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, soda pop,
Crossing the street.
not good for you.
Crossing the street.
Crossing the street. Well, they could outlaw crossing the street, and they kind of have. You know,
Yeah,
there's
jaywalking.
jaywalking penalties if you don't go to the crosswalk.
Anything
But you can
happen.
drink all the coffee you want. You can drink all the alcohol you want. You can smoke all the cigarettes you want. You can all these things that the government's not there telling you you can't do these things because they're potentially harmful for you. But yet, for some reason, they think with this one flower. I mean, holy smokes, right?
They make us go crazy.
Like, in Canada, we hadn't heard much about cannabis.
Nope.
You know, back in the day, like 100 years ago, there wasn't much knowledge about cannabis. Certainly, there wasn't anybody that had heard it called marijuana.
No. Okay.
And so, we get this thing, it's 1922, and Emily Murphy puts together a book. She was a suffragette judge in Canada. And she decided to write a book about all of the illegal drugs in the world, the seedy side of life, right? Called The Black Candle, alluding a lot to witchcraft and how the dark arts were involved with many of these illegal drugs and what have you, right?
Yes.
And so this sensationalized book came out, and in 1922, in May, I believe, Maclean's magazine ran excerpts from that book, and one of the excerpts that they ran was about marijuana. The chapter in Emily's book was "Marijuana: The New Menace," and it talked about this crazy drug called marijuana that was, being smuggled up from Mexico, and it was ruining people's lives. It was the most destructive of drugs. It caused people to be violently insane. You would be addicted horribly. You would die a terrible death trying to withdraw out of it. All of these things were in that chapter of her book and reprinted in Maclean's magazine. And that resulted in the Canadian government, because there wasn't a lot of magazines back. It wasn't like there was all these news sources, and there was fake news, and there was the Inquirer, and there was the mainstream news, and there was all these things. Back in the early 1900s, there was very few newspapers, news magazines. There was Life, and there was Time, and there was Maclean's, and not much else. And so Maclean's magazine had written this article. Well, several months later, now we wind up to 1923 in January, and all of this hype has developed because of Emily Murphy and her book and what Maclean's magazine had to say. And so without any debate, it was just a no-brainer. This was this terribly dangerous drug. It was obvious because it was in Maclean's magazine. It had to be true. And so the less honorable Belmond minister, Liberal minister, stands up and says there's a new drug in the schedule, and it sits back down. And that was the beginning of cannabis prohibition in Canada. And that's coming up 100 years from now, this January.
Oh, this January.
This January coming up, yeah.
Is there a date?
Yeah, but I don't want to say because I'm not 100% sure. I used to know it, but...
I just want to know if it's close to my birthday.
Yeah, we'd have to look that up. We could look it up pretty easy. It's public information. It's the great Google knows everything.
The great Google.
And, we can ask these things. DuckDuckGo is a better source, probably.
The Wizard of Oz.
The
wizard.
They'll probably tell you the same thing. Google and DuckDuckGo would have the same information on that one, probably.
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo. It's another search engine.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We're old, apparently, Glenn.
Oh, really?
The young people who
they
just shut off their computer or their phones right now. They heard what we said there, and they're out of here. What are you talking? These guys.
DuckDuckGo sounds like a game they would be playing with my kid.
But it's been a search engine in rival to Google for a long, long time. For you to not know that.
I thought Bing was.
Oh, Bing goes even back way farther.
Yeah.
Bing predates DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, or Microsoft.
And it wasn't very good.
Okay.
And they'll hijack your computer and your phone, too.
Yeah, it keeps asking me, do you want to make Bing your search or your internet provider, or not provider, right? Your search engine, yeah.
So they made this dangerous plant illegal, you know?
Yep, they did.
And boy, did they ever hit it hard. Like the criminal law, life in jail, all kinds of super harsh penalties. And they really went to war against this major threat that was growing in Mexico and being smuggled across the border. That was this major threat to families everywhere. It was empowering the colored people. It was making the young people lazy. Well, that came later. First it was violent.
Yeah.
Lazy didn't happen until the 60s.
Okay.
It made you extremely agitated. So lazy wasn't part of it until they had the Schaefer Commission in the States and the Schaefer Inquiry and the Ledane Commission here in Canada. And that determined that no. The cannabis doesn't make you violent and insane. It makes you calm and relaxed.
Yeah.
And both of them came to the same conclusion that there was no justification for the criminal law to be used against free people that would want to have possession or grow this plant.
Yeah.
Yet those were ignored. A new narrative was developed that said that this was a communist plot to keep our young people lazy and rebellious.
Oh, yeah.
And, And the big players were involved. I mean, because this threatened numerous industries, really, that didn't want it in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of push to have this, like for the fossil fuel industry, for example, with the Rockefellers and their monopoly. It was actually deemed a monopoly by the federal courts in the United States and ordered to disband, which it kind of did, but it really didn't. But, they were involved in the procuring and selling of fossil fuels. Well, cannabis had been used as fuel. It was it's one of the best sources of ethanol fuel that there was. And in fact, because of alcohol prohibition, there was a whole bunch of illegal alcohol being brewed on farms with stills and things. And after, that evolved to where that alcohol wasn't mostly being consumed by people to get drunk. It was being used in vehicles and farm vehicles, and alcohol-based fuel was the competitor to fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And with cannabis being that, it was a threat to the fossil fuel industry. So the fossil fuel industry has spent a lot of time putting down cannabis. The pharmaceutical industry goes without saying. I mean, cannabis was the most prevalent medicine, second most prescribed medicine, up until the collaboration between the Rockefellers and the Bayer Pharmaceutical Company in Germany that resulted in the new age of modern medicine, and the Rockefellers funding all of these hospital research and development centers for pharmaceutical medicines. And the doctors in the white lab coats with something to prescribe that was a standardized dose in the form of a pill was the new modern age of medicine that they sold to everybody. And at the same time, they demonized the herbal medicine stores. There was botanical drug stores before there was just pharmaceutical drug stores.
Okay.
But the botanical drug stores were all reliant on funding. So investors had been investing for a long time in medicine and in people getting access to the herbs that they would require for healing. And here with the new dawning of the modern age of medicine, the Rockefellers sold the investors on investing in these doctors in white lab coats that were well trained and the standardized dosages in the pills and stuff. And they actually commissioned and released a report by Abraham Flexner that spoke about how the herbal medicines were not standardized dosage, were more or less just voodoo medicines, sort of like once again attributing them to the dark arts and to witchcraft.
Yeah.
And that the new age of modern medicine had arrived. Well, that was read by these investors. Like I said, it was a simple world back then in those days. This was big news. People that were investing in the botanical drugstores, were then concerned about their money. They switched their money away from those institutions that taught herbal medicine and onto the Rockefeller Institutes. And that's what happened to cannabis and the herbs.
Wow.
They became, something that people didn't trust.
Yeah.
And then, but here we are full circle, where now people are realizing that the herbs are where the real medicine is.
Yeah.
That we're made out of plants, and
Yeah.
the plants is where the healing molecules exist. And that the pharmaceutical medicines are just an attempt to isolate and synthesize and reproduce with synthetics these similar things that plants have.
Yeah.
And in the process,
Giving us
not good for the human body and causing nasty side effects.
Exactly.
But and we talked about it, we joke about it, but it's true. But the pharmaceutical interests are not about healing you. They're about having you do something repeatedly to keep you coming back. And that if there's side effects with the pills you're taking, they got that covered too. They got it covered. So we're really at the mercy of a very corrupt medical industrial complex, and so much more. Like I said, it's about fuel. It's about medicine. It's about fiber. It's about control, about people's minds, which is the real strange one. But that's the one that people should really be thinking about.
Yeah.
Is you're not allowed to access THC. That was the thing. If it was the cannabis plant full of cannabinoids, but none of those cannabinoids, or not very many of them, were THC, you're good to go. Go ahead, smoke it if you want. But that THC became the target. That's what they would test for, to see if it tested positive for THC. And what is THC? Well, it is a healing molecule that works in conjunction as an anti-inflammatory and other medicinal properties that it has. But in the way that nature's presented it to us, it's a euphoric, which is so important if you're not feeling good.
Yeah.
You break your ankle,
Yeah.
you're not feeling good. You're depressed because back in the day, like any time past 100 years ago, you break your ankle, that might be the end of your life coming up not too far from there. That might be the beginning of you being a cripple and you not doing your job, being able to work, and you being ostracized from society and all the things that happen to people that suffered these injuries. Many times injuries would get infected and you would die from that because they didn't have proper medical and things like that. So it was a sketchy world back there, and here's this medicine that works so well for people, and a pharmaceutical industry that decides that it's unfair competition, that they don't want people growing the supplement to your whole endocannabinoid system. And so
helps with pain and your immune system.
And the euphoria. I mean, so you have good reason to be depressed if you're seriously injured 100 years ago and beyond. And here's this natural component that Mother Nature's provided that's got the medicine all built into it. And these vapors will give you a sense of euphoria.
A sense of euphoria, not euphoria, right?
A sense.
Because we're
what is euphoria but a sense? I don't know. You feel it.
Well, we say we feel stoned.
I don't think. I don't think it's
euphoria
tangible.
When you're hallucinating or something, or is that?
It's something you feel.
Okay.
Euphoria is a feeling.
Okay.
And we're all about feelings.
So my euphoria is feeling relaxed when I smoke.
When you feel, euphoria is feeling a little more than relaxed.
Okay.
It's feeling almost an excited, a positive, excited feeling. That's what weed is. It's like, wow, man.
Yeah, well, that Smiths is pretty good, too.
That Smiths has been pretty good.
I just wrote that joint. I was like, yeah.
You finished yours, did you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you.
Well,
only
I don't
made-
need
you,
so much
You made only ways
cannabinoids,
through.
you
Yeah,
know?
thanks to Kingsman crew again.
Again, eh?
Yeah, that's
Those
them
guys
again.
have been doing some
But-
fine work.
But now I'm out of their stuff, so I don't know what I'm going to do for next week.
Well, maybe they're watching the show and they'll send us something, eh?
Oh, maybe. You know what? I just, wow.
So anyway, that was fun, and
I was going to put their thing up.
you know how much I love ruminizing about the corrupt world we're living in, because how much I hate the fact that I have to fight the government over access to a plant that they should be providing free of charge to anybody that can't afford it, and making it affordable for everybody as well. And instead, they're still trying to live this dual reality of yeah, okay, so for 100 years we criminalized people, and we're still criminalizing people for stuff to do with this plant.
Yeah.
But here on the other hand, well, we've got hundreds of thousands of Canadians already have their doctors signing that it's medicine for them and they can use it for a variety of health concerns. And we've decided that it's no big deal. We're going to have a whole bunch of stores all over the place. In fact, the big problem the stores are having is that they're too close together. There's too many of them. But so now, they've gone that way where, everybody can have cannabis. You can grow cannabis. You can buy it in these stores. You can't sell it, though. You can't grow more than you're allowed, though.
You can't go to your neighbor and buy
And
it.
for some reason, they still think that it's worth the criminal law to keep. I mean, you know how stupid this is really getting. That's what I'm saying. This is really getting out of control here, where they've they're talking out of both sides of their mouth.
Yeah.
They're criminals that need to apologize and make amends, and they need to make it so that cannabis is easily available, supplemented to people, and the truth should be told about just what a valuable medicine it is and how easy it is to produce for anybody that wants to produce it. So anyway, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Did we cover everything?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Karma Cup. We talked about that.
Well, it's coming up this week.
Yeah.
I don't have much details about it. Sarah didn't send me a kit.
I don't know much about it either.
I hear it's good.
Yeah,
I know there's good people involved.
There is.
Always that's the case. And
I've seen some stuff. Yeah.
I've seen some things, man.
Yeah.
I've seen some things.
Some pictures.
Yeah, I've seen
from
some
last
things.
year on Instagram. So it keeps popping up. Yeah. Stockyard or something about Stockyard. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And CannaMatch.ca, you said there was a little problem with.
Yeah, we got the app having a problem, but the Chameleon, the company that runs my page, is working on it.
So short term.
Yeah,
So the app is down at this point.
I've got no, just the website is okay, but the Google Play Store app is down. Not the app. Once you download the app, it always works and it connects to the site.
I see.
But
So
you just can't find us in the Google Play Store right now.
if you wanted to download the app,
It's just,
there.
just go to CannaMatch.com. You don't really need your app. That just makes it easier on your
Right.
phone. But you just hit one thing instead of having to tap it again.
So-
Right.
So you're not out of luck.
No,
still
there.
accessible.
Oh, yeah, and we're still getting new people.
So if you're looking for love or if you're looking for weed, probably CannaMatch.ca. Both of those things are happening there, and they're happening together in unison.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing as well.
Bring the
If you're
community
just
together.
looking for weed, well, there's trends on there that you can make with people who probably know where you can get a decent hookup. So that's all good.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for love, you're going to find love with someone who also loves the herb, and that's important.
Yep.
Because lots of times in the dating world, people are a little bit shy about what they admit right away because you never know what the other person might be wanting or thinking or where their priorities and values are. So if you start out on CannaMatch.ca, that one's out of the way.
Yeah.
And
You don't have to worry about it.
that one being out
No
of the way
lying to
actually opens up
anybody.
a whole bunch of other
Yeah,
ones. So,
yeah.
you
Birds
know.
of a feather flock together, right?
Yeah. And once you got
Two
that out
peas
of the
in a
way,
pod, yeah.
well, now the first thing you can do if you think you might be interested in the person themselves is smoke some weed together. Have a little session, and then all sorts of good things come out, and people
And we keep
show
the
their real
price of
self.
credits down. It's like $2.99 for 100 credits because we know you got to buy a bag of weed for that date.
So 100 credits. What does that do for
So
you?
when you send a message, it costs you 5 credits. That's the lowest.
Any
we can
message?
go.
Or is it
any message?
It doesn't matter how long it
But
is?
You get 10 free when you sign up.
You could do like an entire manifesto, and that's still just 5 credits.
I guess so. I don't know.
There you go. We found a loophole.
I've never ever had.
You can
somebody
tell
say
your
that.
whole life story
Yeah,
in one message.
in a paragraph. Yeah.
Might not be the best way to meet somebody.
I don't know, yeah.
Probably better start with a hi, how are you? Got any good weed? I do.
Yeah. What are you smoking tonight? Oh, I got this, yeah.
That's right. So that's cool. So basically that's 20 messages.
Yeah.
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 And so and the other person can respond to
Yeah.
using their own points.
Yeah.
Well,
And
by 20 messages, you
You
figured
can buy
out
a
something.
membership, and then messages are a month for the month are free,
Oh, I see.
right? So yeah, there's other ways of.
So you could just try it.
yes,
And then when you're trying it, you get 100 messages.
and then you
20
buy
20
you
tries
buy the
later.
amount of credits that you need to buy the membership, and then there you go. You got your membership for the month, right?
And 20 messages later, you either found your bag of green or your soulmate for life.
Or
one
you've
of the
met
two.
5 people, and you're going to go into the park and smoke 5 different kinds of
That
weed.
sounds awesome. It's a great service. I love it. There's a real need in our community to find some way to unite us. We've been very dissociated from each other because of the pandemic and because of legalization.
Yeah.
And people think that it's legalized now, it's over, we don't need to get together and figure out how to fight the government anymore. And I'm certainly here to tell you that's not the case at all. We have been handed a bill of goods. We've been handed a legalization that is really not much more than the hostile attempted takeover of the entire cannabis industry with the Trudeau cartel keeping prices artificially high to fill the pockets of greedy investors and in many cases ex-prohibitionists that have now decided that we persecuted people and punished them for most of our lives. Now we're going to start making some money on the people that want to use weed. And so the whole legalization thing mostly because they don't allow for the low barrier access. They don't allow for the affordable cannabis that the farmers could easily grow and bring to market without government interference. Instead, they're maintaining high-end stores without the ability of anybody to make as an option cannabis that would come in at a price similar to what other fruits and vegetables are if farmers were allowed to do that if there wasn't government
Do we have
interference.
any opinions on David Eby if he becomes premier here? What his cannabis views are going to be? Because it looks like this guy's going to take over for John because he's leaving because he's sick or something,
It
right?
does look like David Eby will be the
Yes.
premier of British Columbia here before long.
Yeah. Not voted in, just taking over, right?
He's had and done some very positive things with respect to drug policy.
Yeah.
And he's done some things that we weren't, I think
Not
we
too
were
happy
all-
about. Okay.
We'll see what he does here. He needs to allow for low barrier access.
'Cause that's next
And he
month,
needs
right?
to lobby the federal government for programs like ours to
Yeah.
be able to exist in the ways that ours does. The provincial government, along with the municipal government, I'm not sure what role the federal government played in this. They kind of let the provinces do their own thing. But they have decided to license Sarah Bly and the High Hopes Foundation so that they can, to begin with, in any case, provide cannabis to people that register, fill out a form, get approval from the healthcare practitioner that they have that's going to work with them.
Yeah.
And have been, maybe now they're not, there's something maybe not going on there now. The sign is down, I see, but they were, and they're supposed to be able to, with all of that, be able to supply 1 ounce of cannabis for $100 to people that qualify through the health practitioner.
Oh, really?
Or grams for $5 a gram.
Oh, wow.
No
So they're taking your
edibles
idea.
yet. No edibles yet, but they're hopeful that they will have edibles that they can make available. And of course, edibles are the real key here.
Yeah.
I suspect that even if they are able to carry edibles, it'll be just the government 10 milligram capped edibles.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. But they're excluding all those people that we've been talking about through the show today that really won't go and fill out a form to be handed to a doctor to be able to get assessed.
Mm-hmm. And then Sarah Bly was a counselor. Is it?
That's Rebecca Bly.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that's why I know the name. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think they're related. In fact, I know that they're not.
Okay.
And so Sarah, who has been running the High Hopes Foundation or Society for quite a while now, started doing high-dose edible replacement therapies for people that were visiting her Overdose Prevention Society back not long after we started the CSP. She approached me and talked about how it worked or whatever, and wanted to start doing that, and I provided her with some materials to start that with, and she was off and running. Sarah is an park board member.
Yeah, but didn't she write you, or she was in support of the CSP when you talked about her?
Sure, and you know, she's been around for a long time working with government, you know, from the inside for the most part, and so she's accepted this this deal where she will provide licensed producer cannabis in their packaging.
Oh, wow.
Two people,
Okay.
you know, from an LP, yep, and it's the $100 ounces, which is not the best quality that they have by any stretch, but it's still $100. But yeah, we have it available for under $50 an ounce here at the Healing Wave, and it's better cannabis than you're getting there.
Yeah.
We also have it at higher prices, going up to $160 an ounce.
Oh, really?
Just to give the government some more ammunition to use against me if they want to, you know.
But
I am an open book.
It all comes right back to helping.
I'm not
people,
trying
right?
to hide anything.
You don't have a limousine or a chauffeur. You're not living in a mansion or anything. You don't have any tuxedos or nice silk suits.
Oh,
or
man, I'm
anything.
squirreling money away somewhere.
Right.
Oh, I must.
Is that why your bed's been getting more comfortable up there?
Oh, I haven't had a house to live in for a long time. No, people like myself are much more interested in helping the people that don't have
That's what I'm
things.
saying, yeah.
I'm very comfortable in my life. I have no issues that way. I've looked after myself well. I've had a good career in all that I've done. But that's the whole idea here. That's the model that we're presenting, is one that allows for low barrier access, because nobody gets rich, but people pay their bills.
Yeah.
You have to pay the rent. You have to pay the hydro. You have to pay for services. This is the world we live in, and why wouldn't you? Of course you would. It's like a regular business. It's what makes the world go round. And so, you know, we just want to be accepted and licensed, you know, like any other business that allows for people to make wages and have an income, spreads the money through the community, but you know, but doesn't gouge anybody. It isn't all about how can we maximize profits like most business models, and who can blame them? That's what business is for.
Yeah.
You want to try to figure out how to make money. But that doesn't answer the needs of this healthcare emergency. It doesn't answer the needs of the people that are in crisis, whether it's a healthcare emergency or not. There's many people in crisis, and the government needs to support places that are going to be having their attention and their focus on providing the services that these people need at ways that are affordable and reasonable for them, and not be focused on profit. If you focus on profit and try to do what I just suggested needs to happen here, it won't happen. It can't happen. And so, you know, the government should recognize this. We're doing the work that needs to be done in the community to answer the problems that are there. And in fact, it's not just that people have problems. At this point, the whole world and society has problems because of this overdose crisis.
Yep.
And the government needs to support these types of initiatives. And they say that they're going to. They get up there and they repeat over and over again that they're looking for, you know, out-of-the-box thinking, for, you know, to support different initiatives because the status quo isn't working. I hear them say it all the time, David Eby included, that he's gotten up there and said these very same things. Well, let's see it. Let's see it, and it should start right here. There is no better answer to this overdose crisis than us right now, right here. We may not be the answer to everybody. We can't save and rescue everybody out there with our strategies of using cannabinoids for therapeutic replacement, but most of them we can. And if they do it right, with starting at the low dosages and moving up from there, and so they don't have that uncomfortable overdose experience of edibles, man, I'll tell you, it works so good for so many people. We've got hundreds of members that we've helped during this time, and many, many more that aren't members.
So many smiling faces now, right? You know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So government needs to get on this, and damn it, if they don't, we'll just continue to be exposing them as to how corrupt they are. If they don't care, I guess they don't care, and maybe it's to that point where the financial elite really do have the drawstrings and the controls of the.
Is it your son?
No, my son's been very good. He's probably watching the show as we speak. I have faith that he is. Inside information.
Well, he always does, right? You know.
Well, you would hope. You would hope. All my family and friends, Barbie and the rest of the crew, would be interested in what we're trying to do here. And so, we'll see how the saga continues and works itself out.
Yeah.
We'll be there at the court tomorrow. We'll give you a report next week about all of that, and just see where we're going with all of this. All right. Well, thanks,
All right.
man.
Yo, see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you next
we'll
week.
See you next week. Have a good night.
Have as much fun as you can, as always.
I'll try.
You have to.
I got 3 cookies.
Nothing else makes sense.
Bye.
Be careful.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely when we get home.
Yeah, you're a responsible
Big glass of milk.
edible eater.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Eat your edibles responsibly.
I can smoke and drive. I'm not going to eat and drive though. That's too different.
Most veteran users of cannabis can not only can they drive and smoke, but it probably is is used as a focusing tool. It enhances your senses. That's what's kind of debilitating about it for those that aren't used to it.
Yeah.
Not everybody. Some people never get to the point where they feel that they can drive as well as without. So, and that's the whole thing. It should be an individual thing like that.
Yep.
But for edibles, don't eat edibles and drive.
No. All right. See you, sir.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Cannabis Substitution Program update. 5.5 years, more than that. Coming up to 6 years since the program was conceived and the first steps were taken. We have attempted every step of the way to do the right thing the right way, above board, and have all of the right levels of government, if you will, on board with us. Before we ever started this, I went and first got Van Du to understand the nature of the program, which was to make it as easy as possible to get the high-dose edibles into the hands of the people that were struggling with addiction here on the downtown east side. And with Van Du being the main advocacy group funded by Coastal Health that is right at the front lines of this epidemic and what goes on here, and both an epidemic of a poison drug supply, but also an epidemic of people using opioids and other street drugs, driven primarily by the Purdue Pharma Company's efforts to saturate the marketplace with what they said was a non-addictive opioid in the form of OxyContin, and that has driven an opioid addiction crisis that is running parallel to the poison drug supply crisis. And so here we are answering that with what we had learned 18 years ago at the Herb School is the best harm reduction solution to that and both of those problems. Number one, it's the solution for getting people through withdrawal and off the use of those drugs. Those drugs are addictive solely because you can't stop using them without going through hell physically and probably mentally and emotionally as well. But the reports of what it takes to get through withdrawal are that it's like 7 levels of hell, and most people fail the first several times that they try, even with the professional oversight and trying to do that. And so getting people through withdrawal was the big key to addressing this health epidemic of people using these opioids. And so also with on the other side of it, with a poison drug supply, which who knows what the answer to that is? Who knows why that's happening? Why so many people around the world are dying of fentanyl contamination in the otherwise non-fentanyl drugs and killing so many people. And so the big scream that's going on, is the answer is safe supply. That's what you hear all the time. They just need a safe supply. Well, with cannabis edibles being a viable option to those other hard drugs, you can pretty much get whatever relief you're looking for and obtaining through opioids and other hard drugs through the high-dose edibles, not through smoking cannabis vapors and inhaling that, but through the edibles, because you can eat too much and a person can really overdose on high-dose edibles to the point of being very uncomfortable and it lasting for a couple of 3 days. Because you can eat too much and overwhelm your system with it, you can find the right amount. And most people have that right amount that'll get them to wherever it is they were trying to get or were getting to with those other drugs that they had been using. So as a replacement strategy, cannabis high-dose edibles is absolutely the safe supply for people. It's an option that if you transition onto cannabis high-dose edibles, you're not going to encounter fentanyl and you're not going to die of an overdose. So we believe that we're answering both of those strategic needs here with what we're offering people. And so we started the program wanting to do it the right way. Went to Vancouver and got their unanimous approval as a program to make it as easy as possible to get these things into people's hands, and to go to City Council and try to get them on board with us. So that was the next step, and that's what we did, was propose this project to the City Council in Vancouver, and really no response from them. They wouldn't ask me questions as I presented it to them. I had my time at the microphone, and that was kind of that for that. Although I didn't just let that go. I did have a professional lobbyist attempt to get City Council on board with us for the next couple of months. During that time, I went to the Vancouver Police board meeting with Rob Laurie in tow, the lawyer that had been helping us. And we presented it to them as to, this is what we feel the answer is. This is what we're going to do. We're working in conjunction with Vancouver. And that was well received by the VPD, although they said there wasn't much they could do for us. And I knew that there wasn't much that we were really asking for other than them to understand what it was that we were doing and to hopefully not interfere with that. And from there, once the attempt to lobby City Council was going nowhere, and I had accumulated enough donations from different dispensaries and people, in the meantime, it became time to start handing these things out. And so I routinely went to Vancouver, got more donations, went back to Vancouver, got more donations, went back to Vancouver, handed them out to people on the street that would come there. 4 times in a row I went on a Saturday just because I got into that routine. And that 4th Saturday, there was quite a lineup of people that were waiting, and there was quite a nice handful of people that wanted to help with the program. And that became what we did for the full year after that, every Saturday meeting there at noon and handing out care packs to a huge lineup of people with 4 to 6 edibles and a couple of joints. To great success. To people reporting, early on and throughout just how valuable it was to them and thanking us so much. And being able to talk to people about what the spirit of the whole idea was and how to properly use those edibles and all the rest of that going on. We had Professor Dr. M.J. Malloy sending his research team down to Vancouver on those Saturdays to interview people, to take statistics and data and all the rest of it, and subsequently write dozens of papers speaking to the efficacy and the safety of cannabis high-dose edibles as a replacement therapy. After 2.5 years of doing that, believe it or not, and actually after the first year we went to going twice a week, so 2.5 years into doing the project, and the City of Vancouver puts forward and passes a motion to support low barrier access for cannabis for the opioid crisis, or to cannabis. And that was very, very encouraging to us. We had a meeting with the councillor that put the motion forward. We had an understanding we would find a storefront and that they would support us in that. And that's what we did. It took a while to find a landlord, but we did. And we had a beautiful store set up, and we had a wonderful thing going. We got our lineup off the street. We didn't have people lining up for hours, many of whom had mobility issues to begin with. But we had a store. We were open 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. People could come here and not wait in line and get whatever they needed. And the service that we were providing to this neighborhood was just so good. And everybody said so. And we were really meeting the needs of the people that were coming into our store. And we were just hoping that the municipal government would agree with us and license us like they said they would. But the licensing department had something to say about that. They weren't even aware of the motion that was passed. They said that we're going to have to get a license from the province, and that turned out to be from the federal government. But the councillors agreed that they had to follow Canada's lead, and that was the way to go. And so we put in an application to Health Canada really quickly. We didn't want to delay in any way, shape, or form. We wanted to get right on these things. We also put in an application for a temporary emergency exemption from the Cannabis Act to be able to do this without having risk of our own liberty and our possessions and what have you. And although Health Canada and the Federal Health Minister, Patty Haydu, said the next day that they responded back to us saying that they had received our applications, that they would try to respond in a timely manner. And that has not happened. And that's why here we are. In fact, because they didn't respond in any timely manner, after 5.5 months of being in the storefront, we had to get out of the store because the landlord was afraid for his building, because the city had threatened him. And we moved into an RV, and we've been in the RV right in front of the store here, or just down a little bit for the sake of the neighbors. And ever since. And it's been quite the journey. And not having that federal approval has resulted in us definitely having our liberty and our possessions at risk. First, within 2 weeks of being in the RV, the anti-vending unit took away all the supplies that we had, never gave them back to us. No charges laid, but and we didn't stop. We were back right away an hour later, back open and helping people, because we really don't feel like we can stop helping people. It's kind of our moral imperative at this point, because we know that there's so many people that are relying on us that if we did, as the doctors have written in their letters to us, these people would be put at risk of death. So we continued on. And for over a year and a half, we had no interference from the VPD, but here this past May, they came back and raided us, took the RV away for a while, charged us with trafficking and selling cannabis without a license. And they did that simply because on their own initiative, the upper brass of the Vancouver Police Department decided that there was enough information that we were actually providing cannabis to people, that they should have an investigation into that and just see if there was something they needed to do about it. And the investigation, after 6 months of wasting taxpayer money, concluded what we had been saying all along. We're here providing cannabis as an option for people to get them off the hard drugs. And so, believing they have enough evidence to prove that we did that and that we hadn't gotten a license, they did what they did. And now we're in court again tomorrow for the third appearance to once again set dates for when we might actually go and have some sort of a trial or a hearing on that. And that's where we are. That's kind of a wrap-up, although I guess I want to tell you that the CSP is not an isolated project here on the downtown east side of Vancouver. Quickly into doing this program, one of the Vandu members took the idea over to Victoria. They've been doing it over there ever since. They're well into their 5th year of providing cannabis high-dose edibles to people there and offsetting the use of opioids. They have the support of their city council in Victoria for that program, operated by Solid, and they have the support of the Victoria Police Department as well, and they've had no interference in all the time that they've been doing their program. Also, we have a chapter that's going on in Halifax in Nova Scotia for over 2 years now. Chris Backer and his group of volunteers and his fabulous group of donators have been meeting where the people are, where the needs are in Halifax, and providing high-dose edibles, much like we did at Vandu for our time there. London, Ontario, and that's the East Coast Cannabis Substitution Program, by the way. The Green Angel Therapeutics Program in London, Ontario is another chapter of the Vancouver, or the Cannabis Substitution Program. William Hicks and his people there struggle, but continue to maintain the program there of helping people and saving their lives. And there's more. I was contacted recently and told that, and this is by Mary, by the way, Mary McCarty, who's a fabulous human being, that started the program in London that William took over. She was our head baker here for a long time. We miss her a lot, and she did great work here, and she did great work in getting it established in London, Ontario. And she's in the process, early stages, of getting it going in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where she's had to go for family reasons, but she's had some health issues in the last little while, and she needs to get that resolved before she can get the program properly up and running, but it will be. And now Mary tells me that someone from Toronto has reached out to her that is a pretty good activist there, has already got in place most of what you would need to do a cannabis substitution project, and it looks like we're going to have a presence in Toronto. I'm sure there's a huge need there. And these things need to be supported by governments. We need to have low barrier access community cannabis stores available for people in all of these different communities where the need is there. And if we're going to address this public health emergency, if we're going to get a handle on all the lost lives that are going to happen in the future, if we don't do something about this in a serious way, then more people are going to die, and then we need to have this going on. So join us in our fight, please. There's really, this planet right now has no room for passengers. Everybody has to be a member of the crew. This is serious. It's serious for our own families or for our own individual lives, but also for that of society in general, and future societies. The children yet to be born are going to be relying on us and what we do here, and we really need to stand straight and speak truth to power, and not allow the corporate influences that have been taking over our governments for all of this last number of decades here, and it's becoming more and more serious and more obvious, and we really do need to stand up to that and not allow it to happen. And one of the best ways I think that you can do this is by working to advocate for the low barrier access community cannabis stores. I know it sounds silly and frivolous, but it's really not at all. That if we can get low barrier access to cannabis, a lot of other very good things can happen politically, economically, socially, and that is still the best fight to fight, and we still need everybody fighting it. And by fight I mean, talk about it, educate yourself about it, write letters about it, contact the people in positions of influence, contact the people in the media that can make a difference, contact all the different agencies that there are that are trying to help with this issue of the corporate takeover of our world and our society here. That's what this is really all about. It's a lack of freedom that and the freedoms that are being taken away from us. And if we're not free to get a piece of paper with a signature on it from a public servant so that we can provide a natural healing herb during a public health care crisis, where this herb has the great power to provide an exit and an assist in exiting drug addiction, then my goodness, we are certainly not free here at all. And it couldn't be more important to fight over this, because this is very serious if it's come to this. And I'm telling you, it has. And if you've been watching the show, you know it has, because we've been trying to get this done for all this time, and so hard since we put our application. It'll be 2 years on September 16th, coming right up in less than 2 weeks since we submitted that application to Health Canada. 2 years that they've delayed and told us that they're working diligently on the file every day. Told us 2 Januaries ago that they were going to have it probably for us in January. They tell us it's complicated, even though it's not complicated, because we do it every day. What we're doing every day is all we need to do, is continue to do this every day. And they just need to put their a signature on a piece of paper for us that we can hang on the wall and be legitimate. But obviously, things are gone that far, and we are that far from being free that we're where we're at. So let's have a brief visit of the RV, the actual outdoor reality show segment that we have going on here. I think I'll take that because our donation box is in the RV. What do we got? Okay. And as always on the show, we have our weekly Vancouver weather report from the downtown east side. It is a gorgeous day. This is what West Coast living is all about. When it is beautiful, sunny like this, and it's not scorching hot, this is what it's all about. We get beautiful sunsets. The evenings here are fabulous. If it is warm at all during the day, this actually feels perfect. But it is warm every once in a while still, and it's supposed to be warm coming up. Another few days of it. Well, it cools right down in the evening time, and it's just a very beautiful place to live, a very beautiful place to be. So here we are on the downtown east side, where just a quick scan of that, and I think the people got a little bit of an idea of some of the mayhem that goes on down here. And this is the iconic weed truck, the Ganja Mobile, the Scooby Dooby van that has become so well known here over the last couple of years. People talk about it all over the city. I get told that standing at a bus stop, people talking about going to the weed van, and so we've come to kind of love this a little bit. There's a love-hate relationship with it. Of course, it's cozy and it's nice, but it's confined and it's hot and it can be cold, and mostly it symbolizes how we're not being treated with dignity and respect. We don't have governments supporting what we're doing. We're still treated as outcasts and people that are breaking the law and refusing to obey, and that's a constant reminder when we come here every day that we're not unlocking the door to a storefront where people would have dignity and respect and could come in and feel like they're just regular people. We have to do it from an RV on the side of the road, with signs on there about court tomorrow, and the article from the Sun talking about us, and all the rest of it that frustrates the hell out of us, because we're just good people trying to do good things in good ways. And here we are 5.5 years later, and we're still having to somehow justify what we're doing is good and get the government to support us in that. We could go and check out what goes on at the back door. I think we can do that. We got Kevin today at the window. How you doing, Kevin?
Not too bad, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How's things been at the window here?
Oh, it's awesome. I absolutely love the fact that, I've had probably 6 people. I've only been working here maybe a week, and I've had already 6 people come by and say that this program has changed their lives. They no longer do dope, they no longer do speed, whatever their drug of choice was, alcohol.
We get it every day.
Come by and say, man, you guys have saved my life. They are a daily joint and a daily cookie, man. It's more than enough, and
makes you feel pretty good to be able to help them with that.
Oh, I love it, and the CSP is even better. It's just amazing.
Let's go see what that's all about.
All right.
This is the door for the Cannabis Substitution Program, as it says on the sign. This is what we believe people should have available to them as an option to use as a safe supply. It really makes so much sense. There's our secret knock. Now you know it. You can come here, you can knock there, but it's not enough. We have to have strict security protocols on the program. We can't just have anybody come up and knock on the door and get what they need, because we're limited in our abilities to do that. If we weren't, I think we would love to have anybody that needs it come and knock on the door and get what they need. But if you knock on this door, you'll have the Friendly Giant probably come and see you here, or somebody else will come and say, what do you say to these people? What's your number, of course?
What's your number?
What's your number? I don't have a number, so I can't access this. But if I did, I'd be one of a select group of about 268 people that get to come every 4 days and get 420 milligrams of their choice of high-dose edibles. This is George, and what do we got for him today, George?
We've got our usual. We have our Gorilla Ganji gummies.
Right.
We're getting low on those, but that's good. For a treat today, we've had some Twisted Extracts caramel melts.
Yes, those were a donation to us.
Our nice cookie maker today brought us a nice batch of our star cookies.
That's Joe Pepper.
We still have our gel caps for those who like the caps.
From Dirty Dave. I think do we have anything from Green Wilderness Gummies? I don't think we have. We're just waiting for some more from them.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
We've also got freshly made cookies that have just come in.
Those are from John Murray.
Which are very nice. They're going quickly.
We have somewhere in Neverland stuff a lot of times. I'm not sure if we have that right now.
What we've got
topicals that Mary sent us a while ago. We have available. We got a bunch of stuff that we have available for people that come here. And as Kevin was saying at the window there's a lot of people that are pretty appreciative of this program for sure. Did you get any of that today, George?
What's that?
Anybody tell you they're happy with us?
Quite a few people that come here tell us every day that how much the program has helped them, and
Yeah.
Now, when somebody comes and says, I haven't had a drink of alcohol in the last 9 months because I've been coming here, well, it's not a big drug problem, but alcohol is a problem for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure it is, yeah.
And we have people that come tell us on a daily basis that, they're not doing crack, they're not doing down anymore because they're having their edibles, they're getting the gummies, and they come on a regular basis. Like,
and they're sleeping better. They're just overall health is just so much better. So yeah, it's a great program. We're very happy to be offering it. Just need a little government support in that, and maybe you can help. Let's go visit for a little bit inside.
Thank you.
figured that was that was the best way to get kind
Home sweet home, sort of. Home away from home, anyway. So that's what's going on. It's pretty much the same story over and over again with a little bit of moving forward. We'll see where we are next week after we go through our court experience tomorrow. We'll see how long it takes for Health Canada to now respond to our response and see what they say. I don't know how long that'll go on. It could be a while, or it could be soon. I don't really know. But what you can do is you can join the team. You can help us. You can help the world. You can help the quest for low barrier access community cannabis stores, where people can go and buy reasonably priced cannabis flowers, similar to what you'd be able to buy other flowers for, or other fruits and vegetables or herbs for, and not rife with government corruption and over-regulation and restrictions with no justification whatsoever. So if you want to help us, please put your thoughts into digital form, or through the telephone or face to face, but put a little time into trying to further the understanding of the need for a non-corrupt government, on the need for people's individual rights to be respected, on the need for people to be able to have access to one of the greatest benefits that is available to us in all of nature, that has only in the last 100 years been demonized and prohibited and lied about, that really should be promoted as one of the best things available to people for a variety of different reasons, be it for fabric or fuel or food or medicine or spiritual insights or whatever it is. Cannabis offers an extreme benefit to all of the people that get involved with it, and it needs to be allowed as a minimum, but mostly encouraged and probably supplemented by public servants whose job it is to help us in our lives. And to do that properly, I think there has to be an allowance for cannabis to be easily available to people without any reasons or any obstacles in there that would raise the price or make it so some people can't access. That's our story. We're sticking to it. I hope you join us in our little fight here in whatever way you see that you can, and we'll be back next week to tell you more and to tell you what happened in the more recent developments, and maybe it'll be next week that we can tell you that we've actually got some good news from Health Canada. I don't really know, but in the meantime, make sure that you're kind to each other, that you're kind to yourself, that you forgive everybody for how they're not how you would like them to be in many cases, how they're not perfect in many cases. Everybody's doing the best they can with what they got. They got what they got honestly, and they're doing all that they can to be the best person they can, despite a lot of problems that happen to people. So it doesn't help you to hang on to these things. It doesn't help a person to hold resentment and anger. It's much better if you can forgive them, and don't forget to forgive yourself for holding it against them in the first place. But most of all, life is short. While you go through it, have as much fun as you can, moment by moment. We'll see you next week.